Welcome back to our cooking demos. My name is Sharon Copeland and I'm so excited to share our breakfast special with you today. We're going to be doing our applesauce French toast recipe. This is super perfect if you have something extra in the kitchen from holidays, anywhere from having some milk. We have applesauce here. We also have a blend of spices. So this is consistent of sugar, a little bit of nutmeg, and a little bit of cinnamon. Now, I cheated. The recipe just said cinnamon, but I love nutmeg, so I put a little bit in there. If you don't use regular granulated sugar, like regular white sugar, I think you could get away with doing brown sugar, or you could use a sugar-free alternative like Sweet and Low, whatever is best for you. But right here we have sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So first, we're gonna beat 2 eggs. So 2 large eggs will do. Whenever you're beating eggs, if you don't want your egg yolks and you just want to use egg whites, remember that sometimes when you're cooking with just egg whites, it gets a little bit foamier, a little bit frothier. But overall, if you're going to keep the egg yolks in there, it's best to go ahead and beat those eggs first. So that way you get an even beating. Sometimes if you mix everything together first and then you beat it with the eggs in there, it doesn't really get even. And sometimes you can see the separation between parts of it cooking with just more egg yolk or egg white. It might foam up a little bit more or have different consistencies. So we want to make sure that you have an even consistency when cooking. So we're going to go ahead and beat our eggs first. All right, so we're gonna take those 2 eggs, pour them right in here. Go around the sides if you need to. And set that to the side. Next, we're gonna take our vanilla here. And this is 1/2 tablespoon. I think our recipe today calls for 1 teaspoon, so we're gonna find 1 teaspoon. Honestly, I really love using measures, but I'm kind of an eyeball person. So if you don't have any measures at home, or it's kind of hard for you to like figure out which one is which, because sometimes they're not as clearly labeled. In general, maybe if you take off a cap, pour a capful in there, or pour it over for like a couple seconds and stop, you'll have just about the same amount. But that is all for right now. So we're gonna set this to the side. Oh, I think some vanilla extract got on me. Well, now I'm sweet. Okay, so next we're gonna take our milk. I'm gonna add it in. So that was just 1/2 cup of milk. That was low-fat milk. So if you want to use low-fat, reduced-fat milk, whole milk, milk substitutes, that's completely fine. It shouldn't change the texture of anything. Now this is applesauce. We're going to throw in 1/4 cup of applesauce. If you just have some regular apples at home around, this would be great to like cook the apples on the side down with it and serve. But we're going to be using applesauce today. All right, so we're going to bring our whisk back. And we're going to mix that around some. So I'm a big fan of always using liquids before you put in your dries. If you put dry into liquid, it mixes better. If you put liquid over dry, you'll have a lot of clumpiness and it won't mix as good for whenever you're baking, cooking in general. That's just a great rule of thumb to go with. So we're gonna mix that around just a little bit more. You can kind of see how it's super even. It's not too frothy, not too fluffy or clumpy, because we went ahead and mixed our eggs in, then we went ahead and put in our applesauce and our milk. All right, so the next part, which I think is my favorite part, we're gonna take our sweet stuff, sprinkle it over the top evenly so that way it has less chance of clumping. Cinnamon loves to clump up, okay? So whenever you can put cinnamon over things evenly, that helps it keep from clumping. And doing that number right there. So if you can see, whenever it tries to congeal or come together, whenever you put things in the pan evenly, it kind of fights against that a little bit. But cinnamon is cinnamon, so it's still gonna do what cinnamon does and ball up a little bit. That's completely normal and gives things its signature look and taste. All right, so now the next part is we're gonna get our stovetop ready. So we're going over medium heat today. Let me double check, make sure I have the right eye on. So it started off on high, we're gonna go a little bit to low. We're gonna let that pan heat up. Now, whenever you're adding oil to a pan, you can always pull the pan to the side and add oil first. If you don't feel confident putting oil over a flame, we don't want to start any fires today. But if you feel pretty okay and you don't think you'll start anything, we'll go a little bit closer and spray an even coating there. And then we'll put that to the side. Like I said, there's two ways to do this. You can do how I just did and you can spray it over top. If you don't want to take the risk, you can always make sure you either pull that flame all the way down to low, spray it, or pull it off altogether, spray it, and then put it over the flame. So as our pan heats up, this is heating up pretty quickly because it's a fire flame. If you have a different type of eye or a different type of stovetop, it may take a little bit longer to heat up. When you're working with an open flame, always remember things are pretty fast because it's heating pretty rapidly, almost instantaneously, because the flame is directly going onto the pot. So you don't want to overcook things over an open flame. All right, so now that the oil is kind of beating up a little bit, we know that that pot is getting warmer. So this is the next part. We're going to take our bread here. Now this is some regular wheat bread. Any kind of bread will do. I've taken the liberty of cutting them in half to make that classic French toast look. But you don't necessarily have to do that. It's just kind of really for funsies. We're gonna dip that bread right in on both sides. You don't have to hold it in there too long. If you wanna make sure it doesn't drip everywhere, follow it with a bowl and place it right in. We're going to repeat that a couple different times. So as we go through this process, this is something really fun, I think, that you could do with family. If you're not a person who is near family, I think this is a great treat for yourself as well. Something that you can do at home if you like to cook and you want something that's simple and affordable. You know, cinnamon is pretty much a pantry staple. If you got a couple of eggs around, if you have a couple of different, things in the cabinet, you want to throw something together quick, I think this is a great time to do that. It could also be a holiday favorite. So in the morning, maybe on Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, any hot type of holiday where you're gathered together and you need a simple, quick meal in the morning with your family, I think this will be a great one. I might actually make this with my family before too long. So as we let that cook on one side, we're going to flip it after a little while and cook it down. Some really fun facts about apples that we've talked about before, that they have all kinds of fiber, they can be slightly hydrating, good for your teeth if you take a whole apple and bite in, and they're pretty much baby's favorite thing. I don't think my little sister ate too much of anything else other than applesauce when she was small. So it's a really fun, favorite of everyone, really. A lot of people like apples. If you don't like apples, I could definitely see you using a pear sauce for this and still getting that spiced pear seasoning and flavor vibe. So this is really versatile. It's something that you could do with different types of foods. So when you moisten the bread, once it gets soggy, is a little bit less it doesn't have less structure integrity. It's a little bit more floppy, if a better way of saying it. So once you're cooking it on one side, that egg, that frying, it'll make it a little bit harder. So that way it's easier to flip. So once it's flipped on the other side, you'll see that it's not as soft, as gooey, but that classic French toast. It's still gonna taste good, it's still gonna have that mouthfeel. And you can definitely add a little bit more oil if the bread sops up all the oil out of the pan. Like I said before, we'll just wanna make sure that we turn it a little bit lower. You don't want to cook this too high though, because eggs do have a tendency to burn and dry out. So if you cook this really high, try to do it kind of fast, you might burn it or dry it out. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to waste our bread. We want to conserve all the beautiful things in the kitchen and the flavor. So I'm just kind of alternating back and forth here, cooking it over the stovetop. Making sure that that heat is pretty even, pretty level. And I'm really excited because I love being able to get eggs in the morning. So anybody who knows me personally knows that I always advocate for a protein-rich breakfast. I know that protein-rich breakfast can hold you over longer in the day. They can satiate you a little bit better. That way you're not having those all-day snack attacks, or you're kind of getting that afternoon munchie vibe. I've always noticed that a good protein-rich breakfast is a great way to go to be able to fight against that all-day snacking. Now, granted, not everybody would benefit from a protein-rich breakfast, so I would always check and just do what works for you. But for a lot of people, it would be beneficiary. Oh, look, he's fighting me. Little floppy French toast. Well, we see who won that battle. All right, we're gonna do a couple more rounds of these. Once again, we're gonna dip them on both sides, pull them up, pull them over, set them in the skillet, dip it on both sides, up, over, and set them in the skillet. I think I could fit one more in there. So I'll share a story with you. I was really excited not too long ago. While we were, I was going about my day-to-day, our team was going about their day-to-day, and I was told about a beautiful story that someone had about our demos. And there was a lady who was very touched because she, throughout her life, has accessed pantry boxes and needed different community resources to be able to feed herself and her family. And I was very touched that she was inspired and really enthusiastic about our demos here today because she told me that she'd never seen anything like it. She'd never seen a cooking show or like a cooking program in which people used stock boxes and different things like that. And the truth is, everybody deserves fresh, healthy meals. Everybody grew up on different types of food. I know I was a child that grew up on Spam sandwiches. So I understand that healthy for one person could look like a kale salad, with all the workings and the cilantro lime ranch, and those are really awesome. But healthy also matters on what you have access to. And so I'm really happy that we can provide that inspiration, that we can provide that being seen for people, and know that everybody matters. It doesn't matter where you get your food from, it doesn't matter where you come from, but what you have access to and making the most of it, that's what matters. So thank you for sharing your story with me. Thank you to everyone who watches these, who promotes these, so that way we can be able to promote some fun together. Woo! I'm losing the battle. Oh my gosh, I'm losing the battle. So with these, I wonder if it'd be better to use a spatula. Let's find out. It might be a little bit better to use a spatula. Oh, now I'm cracking the code. To cook them on both sides. And there we go. So as you can see, some of these, when they first started out, they were a little bit lighter, and now they're getting darker. So, like I said, this is an open flame. Open flames get the skillet hot really fast. So you know what we're gonna do to correct that? We're gonna tone it down a little bit lower. We're gonna refreshen our pan with just a little bit of oil. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this off for a split second. I'm gonna spray again. You see that smoke coming up on there and how it immediately beads? That's how you know if it's an open flame, it's just a little bit too hot. Remember, we're cooking eggs. If it's too hot over an open flame, it's gonna burn. So, we're gonna let this cool down for a second. And as it cools down, I guess we'll wrap up the next two a little bit off camera here. But I'm super excited to share everything with you today. Thank you for being here, being a part of this, and for being able to see me go toe-to-toe with some French toast. I still believe this is a perfect recipe for different holiday events, for different gatherings, really a year round if you want something that's simple for in the morning, if you want something that can be fun to do, just add a little bit of zest to your day if you are a toast in the morning kind of person. I know a lot of times in the morning I like to eat different things over toast, so maybe instead of putting an egg with toast, you could just go ahead and make some French toast. All different kind of versatilities here. Great way to use some leftovers. Like I said, if you're baking pies, making cakes, cookies, you got some sugar, you got the cinnamon and the nutmeg, you probably already have a couple of eggs. Go ahead and toss this together and make the most out of your leftovers too. And while we're here, if you were to switch up the spices just a little bit, maybe some garlic, oregano, onion powder or something, this is also a great way to make Texas toast. All you have to do is melt the cheese on top. So there's so many different ways that we can use the same ingredients, multiple different ways. So now that we've turned that heat off, we've let that skillet have a chance to breathe. Look at how even, I'm gonna tilt it up some. Look at how even it's cooking now. So that's why it's super important whenever you're cooking over a stovetop, and especially if you're a person using an eye like I am, where it's over an open flame, controlling that heat is so important. Over the holidays, sometimes accidents happen, fires break out. Some years back, there was actually a really big fire at my granddad's house. It was an oil flame. If you come across that, don't throw water on it, just run. Seriously, no, don't throw water on it. Just run. An oil flame, don't throw water on it. It will react badly. So we always want to make sure that we're staying safe whenever we're cooking these demos, whenever we're cooking in general. Safety is a main priority. December is like our World Food Safety Month. International Food Safety, I think it's June or July is like the United States Food Safety Month, but internationally, December is World Food Safety Month. All right, and it looks like we have won the battle of the French toast because this is cooking evenly on both sides now, and we finally have the perfect French toast. Thank you so much for joining me today as we made it through this fantastic demo, as we made it through our applesauce French toast. Like I said, there are so many things you can switch out with this. There are so many cool things that you can do with just some eggs, some sugar, a little bit of milk, and a little bit of thyme. I hope that you enjoy this beautiful season, because there's beauty in every season. Thank you to our awesome viewers who continue to support us. Thank you to Hunger Task Force for allowing us to be in this beautiful space. Thank you so much to MCFI for, idealizing and to, I'm trying to find the word here, prioritizing nutrition education in our community, understanding how important it is for our community to not only have access to safe and healthy food, but to know how to cook with it and what are the benefits of eating safe, healthy food. So I appreciate everyone here today. I hope you have a great holiday season, and I'll see you next time.